Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Phil Hoffman, and joining us on this episode of Pause is KMOS's own Membership and Major Gifts Officer, Nicole Hume, and we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of membership here on KMOS. That's coming up right now on Pause. Good evening. I'm your host, Dr. Phil Hoffman, and we're proud to welcome this evening Nicole Hume, who is Membership and Major Gifts Officer here at KMOS. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, thank you very much.
So Nicole is someone who many folks who watch KMOS have probably spoken to at some point or gotten a letter from. Let's talk a little bit about, when we talk about membership in public television, that's an unusual construct, and people are not always real good at understanding why and who. So let's talk a little bit about typical members in public media, and especially here at KMOS. Who becomes a member?
Well, we've got quite a lot of members actually. We've got about 3,000 people nearly, and mainly I find the people who are interested in becoming members of KMOS TV are supporters of public television. And those people love public television shows and the programming that we air. They love the quality and the content, but they also like to support the concept of free education, which is what you get through public television.
And certainly there are, if you talk about the advantages in public television, we often say here at KMOS we engage, educate, and entertain, and all three of those factors are probably weighing in folks' decision to become members.
I think so, definitely.
So if you become a member of KMOS, let's talk a little bit about what that means for most folks and what kind of benefits they receive, and why would they want to join in the first place?
Well, most people join because they want to get a contact guide.
Right.
And the contact guide is our monthly booklet that we produce, and it's full of information about the television shows that we're going to be airing, and it's full of information about the times and also about Central Missouri and the region and some of the activities that we engage in. So whether or not that's some kind of community event. So for example, before Christmas we had an expo, and over Christmas we had the Downton Abbey screenings. So people find out a lot of information all about what KMOS is doing in the community, as well as what is going to be on TV that night.
So it always gives you kind of a heads up of what's coming up in the next month or so. And when we talk about those events, and we do a lot of events in the community over the course of a year, one example of that, and I know you were involved, is the Create Expo. It's something that we've done the last couple of years in Columbia. Let's talk about the Create Expo and sort of what happens there. Well,
the Create Expo is basically it's vendors from all over the Central Missouri area, from all over our broadcast area basically. Vendors who want to come to the expo and promote themselves and their product. And we provide that venue for them. And we focus on Create because that's one of our TV channels, one of our shows. And we have people who are involved in all sorts of organisations, things to do with homes and gardens, things to do with activities that you might do around the house, or anything creative, artistic, that kind of thing. And so we have lots of vendors who come down and they spend the day there, and it's a lot of fun. And we have some of our PBS presenters there and some of our PBS celebrities there. And they come in and they do presentations, and people get to see all of this right on their own doorstep.
And that's something, you were very busy that day. You were working at the KMOS booth, and I know you had lots of folks come up to you. One of the things I always like about these events is we get a chance to talk to our viewers. We get a chance to meet you and talk to you a little bit about what you like about the programming and what you don't like about the programming on KMOS. When you're doing that event at the Create Expo and people are coming up to you, what kind of things are they telling you?
Well, overwhelmingly, I found that people were very, very supportive of KMOS TV and the programs. They love PBS programming. They love the fact that the programs that are shown are commercial free, but they also love the content and the quality of the programming and the creativity of the programming as well. So they all say that they couldn't live without PBS, and that's really heartwarming for us, because it gives us that feedback that validates us, and we completely appreciate it.
Now, another thing that you and I were both actively involved in last month were all the premiere sneak peeks, if you will, of the new episode of season 6 of Downton Abbey, and we did those all over the viewing area. Can you sort of take folks on a tour of where we went and what happened?
I can, yes. First of all, we started out in Sedalia. Maybe actually it was Clinton. We started out in Clinton, which is a very small community nearby here. And I think we started out there because Sandy, our events coordinator, is from that area. And then we went to the town of Sedalia, and we had quite a large amount of people coming in from Sedalia to watch Downton Abbey. And they hosted that event in their new Liberty Centre for the Arts, which was beautiful. And it was just completely the right setting. And then after that showing in Sedalia, we had another showing in Jefferson City, which of course is one of our bigger viewing areas. And, you know, obviously the capital of Missouri, and what's not to love about Jefferson City. And then after Jefferson City, we went to Columbia, and we were at the theatre in Columbia, which is just incredible, and I love it. And that whole event was amazing, and we had hundreds of people there. And it's just incredible to see how many people love Downton Abbey. And so after the event in Columbia, we then finished the whole affair off in Warrensburg here at the University of Central Missouri. But we got a huge turnout. It was very successful.
And we had support from a great corporate citizen here in Central Missouri.
We did. We had John Sebrick, sorry.
That's right.
My apologies.
No.
Yes, and he came in and he sponsored the whole programs, and that was incredible of him and fantastic. I mean, without him, we obviously rely a lot on people's donations and their sponsorship, company sponsorship. So without those, we wouldn't have been able to be as effective as we are, that's for sure.
And so if you enjoyed a preview episode of Downton Abbey, if you were with us at one of those cities, you can thank the Missouri Board of Realtors. They were instrumental in making that happen and helping us defray the costs of all the facilities and everything. And Nicole, you didn't mention, but you are from Sedalia. So Sedalia, the night we were at Sedalia was a home for you, very easy.
It totally was.
And the facility we were in, not quite, they're renovating it, but it wasn't quite completely renovated yet when we were
correct.
there. So talk a little bit about that facility and what's happening there.
Well, as I understand it, the facility is an old theatre, a very old theatre, probably from the 1800s, and it was basically closed down and just left to rack and ruin. But some enterprising people in Sedalia decided that they wanted to regenerate it. They wanted to regenerate the arts in downtown Sedalia. There has been quite a lot of work done in downtown Sedalia for that purpose, sort of defining the downtown area and trying to create an artistic environment. And so the Liberty Centre for the Arts has been and is being regenerated, and it's just beautiful. You should go down there if ever you get the chance, especially when they start running their normal theatrical shows. It's an incredible place, it's beautiful. So hopefully this summer, when it gets up and running, it'll get very popular.
And certainly there's always an enjoyable time to be had going to the Missouri Theater in Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful facility.
It is, it's stunning, and it completely reminded me of the theatres back in Britain with all of the lovely red velvet seats and all of the gold leaf everywhere. Just a very beautiful setting, very ornate, and completely appropriate for something like Downton Abbey.
It's always interesting to me. You go to a facility like that, and it's such a gorgeous place to be, and it makes whatever you're seeing there makes it more enjoyable.
Certainly does.
And we worked with the folks there at the Missouri Theater. Great staff, great help there in terms of just making the whole event come off. So we want to thank them for that as well. And when we think about this Downton Abbey, this is the thing that always puzzles me, Nicole, is we have lots of fans, people who love Downton Abbey. But think about it. To me, it's always an amazing thing that people will leave their homes to go somewhere to watch a TV show. That, you know, if you just wait a couple of weeks, it'll be on TV. As our resident expert on all things UK, can you help me sort of understand, you know, what is it about Downton Abbey and the phenomenon of Downton Abbey, do you think, that gets people so excited that they'll leave their homes and dress up and do all of those things in order to be part of that?
Well, as a viewer of Downton Abbey and a huge fan of Downton Abbey, for me, and possibly for other people, I've spoken to other people, so possibly for them as well, it's the actual story behind Downton Abbey, the content of the show, the underlying plot and the theme, and the love story that goes on during Downton Abbey, and the trials and tribulations of people in both strata of the social settings. And also the luxury, all of the glamour and the fashion, everything like that's really sort of intriguing. And then the manners of Downton Abbey. And it's not just Downton Abbey, it's the people of that era. It's how people in that, and it's personified through Downton Abbey, I think. So I think that's what appeals to people, their curiosity, and they're intrigued by it. They're intrigued by people behaved like that and why they had those manners and why they did the things that they did. But there's a lot of wit in Downton Abbey. There's a lot of fun and a lot of humour as well. And I think that's greatly carried out by people like Maggie Smith, who's the Dowager. She's so witty, she's got an acerbic wit, but she's hilarious as well at the same time. So it's sort of a very sort of a show that appeals to everybody across the board, but it's also quite intellectual as well. And, you know, it's just a beautiful setting with beautiful people. So I think that's what does it. It's got everything that you need.
Everything.
Everything for a really good story.
So as we move on, sadly, we both know this is it for Downton Abbey. As we roll through the month of February and into March, it will be coming officially to an end. And when you think about a program that has had the kind of impact that Downton Abbey has, of course, we here in PBS stations all across the country are thinking, now what? What next? You know, because this has been a real phenomenon. It's unusual, really, in any television program to get this kind of popularity. And so when you get something that people just really click with, you think to yourself, oh, I hope it doesn't end, and now it's ending.
I know, and we're all going to be suffering and bereft and bereaved and have to have counselling and something, but I'm sure they'll produce something else. I hope they do anyway.
Right. So part of the job that you have, of course, is talking to the folks that are viewers and members and learning about what they like and what they don't like and what they wish we would do more of. So the other part of your job, though, is also major gifts officer. So talk a little bit about what that means, and in the world, the context of PBS, when we talk about somebody who is a major giver, what kind of things are available for somebody who wants to help a PBS station? What can they help do?
There's many things that people can do to help a PBS station. On a fundamental level, just becoming a member for a year at $50 a year is an excellent way of being able to support a public television service. As a major giver, major givers are people who are passionate about public television. Major givers are people who want to see public television continue, not just in their lifetime, but perhaps leave a legacy for their children and grandchildren, and have an influence on the way that television is going in terms of the future. I mean, we all know if we watch other channels how inundated they are with commercials, and you hardly get to see a show all the way through. It takes hours, and it's just tedious to watch. Whereas public television is commercial free, and it's also free. We don't have to pay for it, unless you choose to, of course. And that's fantastic for children who perhaps don't have access to cable, don't have things available to them that other more privileged children might have available to them. And PBS Kids is fantastic for children today who maybe want to have some kind of access to some kind of educational programs like Word Girl, or who can forget Sesame Street. So it's really about sponsoring and supporting and making sure there's longevity of this kind of conduit of education and entertainment for people now and in the future. And people who are major givers are people who don't want to see that end.
And if you think about it, the people who made those types of gifts to PBS stations in the 70s and 80s, they literally are the reason why Sesame Street continues. They're the reason why we have things like Daniel Tiger and all the programs that are quality educational programs that continue to exist and continue to be developed. There's all sorts of things that have come out each and every year from PBS that are new, and it really is the legacy of the folks who have supported PBS in the past that make today possible.
Totally, totally. And I hope as a major giver that if people are interested in finding some way of supporting public television, that they do give me a call, that we do try and set up something. Everything can be customised to match anybody's pocketbook, or to do anything in their name for the future. And, you know, we can talk about things definitely on that scale. So if anybody is interested, don't hesitate to give me a call.
And she's very nice and very proper, as you can tell. She's a proper British woman. So you can give her a call and chat with her and talk to her about how you can help KMOS. When you think about the kind of programming, as we were talking about children's programming, I see, you know, Nature Cat, which just debuted here in November, which is kind of a newer children's program, and coming up here very soon, next month, will be a program called Ready, Jet, Go. And it's funny to me because it's a sort of PBS, as it always does, they sort of trick children into learning in a sense, because Nature Cat is a fun show. It's an interesting thing to watch. It's sort of an old school cartoon, but it's also underneath it all. The stories are all about getting outside, learning about nature, or learning about the outdoors, and learning how to be a person who can live in nature comfortably.
Yes.
So when you think about those kind of programs, are those the things, when you talk to folks, you get feedback that we really support those kind of educational programs?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as a mother myself, with two young boys, I definitely turned to PBS first for television programming for my children, because I knew that the quality of the shows on PBS were going to be of a standard that was acceptable, that there wasn't going to be anything that was going to influence them negatively in any way, and also as an added benefit, they were maybe going to learn how to spell, or they were going to talk about the alphabet, or they were going to talk about colours, or, you know, as you say, their social skills and adaptability, how they should behave in certain settings, or how we should be kind to people, that kind of thing. And sometimes children take it from another source, a third party, rather than their parents. So, you know, PBS is fantastic as a learning support as well.
And when you look at the sort of the breadth of the programs that are available on PBS, you have these education programs. Some of them are, you know, math and science and things like that, but some of them, as you said, are more sort of how to live in the world with other people and how to have, you know, relationships with people in a way that's respectful and allows you to grow as a person. So that's the kind of thing, when you look at the programming on PBS, that's the kind of thing that people see, right?
Absolutely, and that's the kind of thing that they want to steer their children towards. And not just little children, youths. There's plenty of influences out there through other formats like Xbox or the computer, and it's good to know that you can turn to reliable and trusted sources such as PBS, and you know that you can turn your back while your child's watching something on telly, or you know that it's not going to be too awful or violent, in any way, and that your children are not going to be horribly shocked or scared or frightened, and that in fact they're going to enjoy something, but they're also going to come away from it having learned something and grown for it for the better.
Now, in addition to the children's programming, that's not the only thing we have. We also have plenty of other programming throughout the course of the day.
Yes.
And one of the things that I'm always most proud of with PBS is our news programming, our public affairs programming. It's very even. It's very balanced, I think, overall. I've worked for a decade as a reporter, and I'm very critical, usually, of my colleagues and myself in the commercial media. So I always appreciate the fact that there aren't going to be people shouting at each other on our air on television news programs, and they aren't going to necessarily direct you in one way or another way. It's sort of more of a balanced look at the real problems today in our society.
Absolutely, it's extremely objective, and that is one of the compliments we often get when I speak to our members. People speak to me at events and always rave about PBS NewsHour, and they always talk about the presenters on PBS NewsHour and how good they are, and you know, how objective they are and how they try to be as fair as possible, but also that we get the extra depth as well. It's not just some scandalous one-liner that's there to get the ratings up. It's more of an in-depth study of what's happening and what's going on in the world today, and everybody appreciates that.
And it's certainly a challenge in just as a citizen in the country trying to figure out what should I vote for, what should I support, all those things. And you know, oftentimes all the information that comes at us is skewed particular ways. So the goal, of course, is to try to be impartial. And having been a person who worked in that field for a while, I can tell you that no matter what you do, typically I would get feedback from folks on one side of an issue saying I fell too far the other way, and then folks from that side of the issue saying, no, you were too far this way. So it's a difficult thing to try to there is, of course, everyone would argue there is no such thing as the truth or real news. So it's a difficult thing for you to do, to put together a television news program under regular daily deadlines that really is impartial.
Absolutely.
It's a tough thing to accomplish.
Absolutely.
But the viewers that you talk to and the members that you talk to, that's one of the things that they identify.
Yeah, absolutely. They love PBS NewsHour, and they talk about it being such a good quality show, and that they set their clocks by it, and that, you know, without PBS NewsHour, they probably wouldn't watch any news because they just don't trust the other sources. But they do trust PBS because they know that there's no reason for us to be biased one way or another, that we really only want to report the facts, and fundamentally that's what people want to hear.
And of course, in addition to that programming, we have a wealth of other kinds of programming. Interestingly to me, one of the very few places today that you're going to see great performances, you're going to see opera, you're going to see classical music, not something that you see much really at all on other entities. And I'm wondering what kind of feedback you get from our members as relates to that.
We get a lot. The cultural side of the television showing that we broadcast is hugely popular. Basically, great performances is loved by everybody. And we have members who, I mean, we have some big urban areas in central Missouri, but we have many, many rural areas where people can't get to the theatre or wouldn't be able to access some of these worldwide settings, and don't have the ability to fly over to Vienna or wherever, and maybe never would. So they appreciate some of these more cultural, perhaps operatic, more dramatic shows, theatrical shows, even ballet. All of these things that we play on PBS really caters to a very cultural side of people and an artistic side of people that they don't always get from other channels. And, you know, they appreciate it. They love it.
So if folks are watching this today and they want to find out more about how to become a supporter of KMOS, how do they do that?
Oh, there's plenty of easy ways that they can contact us. They can call our 1-800 number, which is 1-800-753-3436. They can email us at kmos.org, and they can go on our webpage at kmos.org. They can actually call me if they want to. My number's 660-543-4010, or they can just go online and email any of us. So it's quite easy, or just pick up the telephone, whatever they prefer.
Pick up the telephone. You heard the lady. Give us a call. We hope that you will call Nicole and have a chat with her if it's of interest to you. We appreciate all our viewers and all our supporters, and thank you so much, Nicole, for being with us here today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me in. Thank you.
So that's it for this episode of Pause, and we will be back next Thursday with more information about things going on in and around your community. That's every Thursday right here on KMOS and Pause. Thanks so much. I'm your host, Dr. Phil Hoffman. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you again next time right here on Pause.